Hi, have you been advised to try home traction for your neck pain? Then this video is for you. I'm going to be sharing my favorite traction device, which is the Saunders Cervical Traction device. But as always, check with your healthcare provider to make sure that this is appropriate for you. And if you like our content, please subscribe below. So the first thing I want to show you is how to make sure that the Saunders unit is set up specifically for your neck. You want to make sure that the prongs are at a width where it connects with the base of your skull, that it doesn't squish your neck too much. You want to make sure it's pulling from your skull and not from the muscles or the bones in your neck. I make sure that the straps are already velcroed in a position where my head's going to fit in the strap. And when you go down, especially if you have a neck ailment, you don't want to just go onto your back and lay down because that can really strain your neck. I like to lay down from a side position. When you go down on your side, it's easier for your stronger trap muscle to hold your head up without straining your neck. So going down into your forearm, making sure the strap's ready for you, and then you roll onto your back so that the prongs are at the base of your head, and I'm already ready to go. You want to make sure that the pump is accessible for you in this position so you're not straining your shoulder trying to find it. Right now it's on release. You want to make sure your traction unit is stored in the release position. That way if there's any pressure on it, it can let that pressure out. Then I'm turning it to the pump position so that I can start pumping. And I'm looking at the dial to see how much pressure it's exerting on my neck. If this is the first time you're ever tractioning, I wouldn't do more than 15 pounds. 15 pounds is a fairly safe poundage to stretch at. Right now it's close to 15. I personally have built up to tractioning at 25 pounds. So I'll show you what that looks like. When you get to the poundage that you need, turn the dial to hold. That way it takes more movement to accidentally get it off the hold. Because when it's on pump and when it's on hold, it's gonna stay at that pressure. But if you go and twist it out beyond that, it'll start releasing and you'll lose that pressure. So I'm gonna pump it back up to 25 because I just let some of that air out and I put it on hold. And then you just relax. Make sure your knees are bent because you wanna make sure your spine is supported by the floor. If your knees are straight, you should be able to see that your back begins to arch and then you have this space here that can strain your low back over time. If you bend your knees and your back is flat, notice there's no space there anymore, and that way my back is fully being supported by the floor and it's not going to lead to a backache. You don't want to irritate your back trying to fix your neck. After 10 minutes, to get out of the unit, you want to make sure that your poundage is down to 15. So if you're tractioning at 15, you're good to go. But I was tractioning at 25, so I'm going to carefully release it till it goes down to 15 pounds. This is something I've personally developed because having had 4 disc herniations in my neck, I quickly learned that if I got out by putting the machine all the way down to 0, sometimes that would hurt my neck. Whereas I found if I left some pressure on my neck as I got up, my neck never did have an episode of pain. So I just release it down to 15 pounds. And then I take the strap off my forehead. I tuck my chin in. That way my neck has some self-traction in it. And then I would go onto my side and support my head. That way the weight of my head doesn't just recompress my discs. And then I place my hand down, make sure my neck is supported by my own muscles, and come on up. And that was the safest way I found that I could get up out of the traction unit. Because again, once you've been traction, all that nuclear material has returned back to the center of the disc and your discs are injured. So you don't want to just sit up and squish all that fluid back out, because if you do, it really hurts and it can lead to neurological symptoms like numbness, tingling, weakness, and that's never a good sign. Never ignore numbness, tingling, or weakness. Make sure you talk to your healthcare provider immediately if you have those kind of symptoms, because you don't want to be left with permanent nerve damage. Now, remember to store the unit, because I had it on hold still. You want to bring it all the way to release. That way, there's less pressure on the machine during storage. Make sure the air is all the way out, and that way it's also ready for you when you're ready to traction later on that day. And again, with traction, it's not so much how long you do it for. The maximum you want to do it for is 10 minutes. But as soon as you get out of the traction unit, that big bowling ball of a head is squishing your neck again. So within a few hours, you're at risk of having more compression in that disc. So what I found was when I was at my worst, I had a traction at least 3 times a day because it just took a couple hours before I'd start having that neck pain again. So again, make sure you talk to your healthcare provider, find out the frequency, the intensity, and the duration of your treatments. For me, it was 10 minutes, 3 times a day at 15 pounds, and I gradually built up to 25 pounds. And today I'm doing so much better that I only traction 3 times a week, and at 25 pounds, 10 minutes. So hopefully this is helpful to you. If it is, please subscribe below, and until next time, stay well.